So let's talk about your Saturn return. Man, I've been avoiding making this episode because I feel like you've been asking me for a really long time and I have a lot to say about it, and at the same time I actually feel like I don't know where to start. So let's just start from the basics. You know, if you're between the age of 25 to 30 years old and you've been going through it, welcome to your Saturn return, friend. Like, welcome to your Saturn return. And if you are between the ages of 25 and 30, I'm not saying that your life is hard and bad and, you know, all gone to crap. But if you have been questioning things, you've been really irritated with the systems, you've been kind of on autopilot and you feel like you're just getting awakened to like, why do these things happen? What do I want to be? Who am I? What is my purpose? And do I want to be in this career? You're asking these questions about you. Well, friend, welcome to your Saturn return. Okay, so astrologically speaking, let's go to the astrology for a little bit. Astrologically speaking, Saturn return basically means that Saturn, the planet, is essentially in the same spot in the sky where it was when you were born. So wherever it was when you were born, it is essentially coming back to that space. And Saturn return happens somewhere between the ages of 27 and 29 because that's the orbit of Saturn, the planet, astrologically. But because we're talking about a huge, massive scale movement of an orbital, you know, celestial body, it actually takes a little bit of shadow years as well. So 2 years on that side and 2 years on this side. So 25 to 26, you might be experiencing a little bit of Saturn shadow, and then from 30 to 31, you might also experience a little bit of Saturn shadow. So that's the astrology part of that. Okay, so we're gonna just leave that there for a little second, but then come back to the practical of what it actually looks like for you to experience a Saturn return. So in these kinds of years, it's really common for you to feel like you're spinning. It's like you're ungrounded, you're spinning, you're questioning, you're kind of like restless. You're very, you know, enthusiastic, but you don't really know where to put your energy to. You feel like you have all these different things and all these different choices, and you're kind of like choice paralysis. You're almost kind of paralyzed because there are so many choices, and you feel the expectations, you feel the society's weight, you might feel your parents, there's the inner void. All right, friend, let's just breathe. Okay, let's just breathe with me. Welcome to your Saturn return. All right, and this is not the last one, because in another 30 years you're going to experience another one in your 60s. So it's really nice if you start to build your muscle around really making through this Saturn return with intention, with clarity and perspective, knowing that the challenges that are showing up for you aren't meant to like mess you up. They're actually meant to support you. You're meant to question, you're meant to be suspicious, you're meant to be curious, you're meant to be critical, you're meant to wonder why, you're meant to ask these questions. Okay, so if you go into your Saturn return and maybe you're already in the midst of it, maybe you're kind of at the shadow end of that, you're essentially setting yourself up for the next several years, for the next 2 decades, to make intentional decisions in your life. And that's amazing. I love that for you. Okay, so that's the astrology. Okay, so if we talk about Saturn being in the same place that it was when you were born, this brings energetically lessons that you're meant to learn right now. Lessons about yourselves, karmic lessons, the lessons that you've maybe evaded in the last couple of years, the lessons that are going to be showing up for you in the next few years. This is here to prepare you, to teach you. And the energy of Saturn is also known as this wisdom father. It's this like father energy. And I don't mean to be gendered when I say father. I really mean this energy of teaching. There's this wisdom of the Saturn energy. Saturn is the teacher. They show you how to create different systems. They show you the rules, the regulation. They show you to be critical. They show you to be very suspicious. So all the things that you've been experiencing in your Saturn return, where you are, you know, suspicious and you are being critical and you are being curious and you are questioning things, like, yeah, literally the energetics of that is here for you. So practically what that looks like for you here on Earth, having a human experience, if we just kind of set the astrology aside for a moment, is that you might be in a space where you feel very confused. And I want to let you know that, I don't know if you know, but essentially part of your brain just finished growing in like the last couple of years. Your prefrontal cortex in your brain, this part of your brain, this top front area of your brain doesn't finish growing until you're about 26 to 27 years old. And this prefrontal cortex is responsible for your executive functioning, meaning the way that you think, the way that you make decisions, the way that you are critical. This literally just finished growing in for you. And so in conjunction with the astrological energy, you have this newly found body part essentially that is allowing you to be a little bit more critical than you have been in the past. And practically, if you're thinking about that age of your life, 25 to 30, like you think that you're supposed to have everything figured out. You're supposed to know who you are. You're supposed to blah, 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 blah. Like, I am tired. Like, aren't you tired? There's no supposed to's. This is the part where you get to be creative and play and experience and experiment and do different types of things, because you actually don't know who you are at that age, right? And not even into your 40s, not even into your 50s, nobody really knows who they are. It's just a discovery phase called life. This is just the discovery part where we get to, you know, experiment and play and enjoy just being here and living. But let's come back to that practical part of it again. You coming into this age of 25 is essentially you coming from this childhood energy, this learning to just be here on this planet, this kind of like, I just finished growing all my body parts, into now learning to use your body parts, okay? Because energetically, there's another stage for you after this. There's this youngin age, there's the middle adulthood age, and then there's your elderly age. That comes for you at a later time. In your 60s, you actually go through another return. This is when you come into that phase of your life, this elderly energy, this more, you know, matured energy at that stage. But some of us don't actually heal through this first Saturn return, so we bring this childhood energy all the way to us in our elderly energy. We kind of like bring that energy with us. And I don't mean like a childlike quality of like innocence and curiosity and play. I mean all the unhealed shit that was here with you as a child that you didn't really heal through, that you carried with you into this middle phase and into this other phase and into this other phase, and now you brought it with you into your elderly ages, and you're 60 and you're 70 and you're basically still butthurt about things that were back then. Okay, so this Saturn return is a really beautiful opportunity for you to actually just look and be introspective of like, why am I triggered? What is triggering me? Why am I insecure? What is happening? Why? It's the perfect time to ask why. And here's where you get to make really big decisions, really big, powerful decisions for yourself. You get to say like, am I stuck on making the same choices for myself that's going to lead me into the same patterns, into the same path, into the same feelings? Or am I gonna do something kind of big, brave, and scary, and also like terribly exciting at the same time, and make different choices for myself? And that's why it's so scary to be in that 25 to 30 years old age, because before that, look at what we did in society for the most of us, right? Like we were raised, and then we went into the school systems, and then we kind of followed this autopilot situation. And now that this part of your brain is on, it grew in, and now that the Saturn here is like switching, flipping the light switch, it's basically asking you like, hey, get out of autopilot. Get the heck out of autopilot and make intentional decisions for yourself. Make conscious, intentional decisions for yourself. And then that's really scary, right? Like that's like for the first time, you're like, oh, like there's no rule book, there's no blueprint, there's no like somebody telling me what to do, and right? Like we kind of relied on, whether you have parental figures or society or whatever it is, like whatever pressure you felt or whatever incubation you were in, that was essentially our incubation. This is where we were like literally like growing our body parts. And now here we are saying like, okay, go use your body, go use your brain, go use your energy, like all the things that you learned, go. And you're like, you're kind of having a panic attack because the choices that you have available to you is really overwhelming. And in psychology, there's this concept concept known as choice paralysis, or like the chooser's paradigm. Basically, like you are unable to make a choice because there's so many choices. Like if I just told you to pick between this and this, you can probably choose one, right? This or this, you can probably make a choice. But if I give you like 15 things to pick from, if I give you 50 things to pick from, if I give you infinite things to pick from, you're like, no, I'll get back to you. It's overwhelming. And so you prolong making choices. But that's the beauty and the challenge for you here right now, because you get to make really powerful choices. And a part of you might feel like, you probably feel this, you know, and like, nod if yes, right? You probably feel like, what if I make the wrong choice? And what if I fail at this choice? And what if, you know, like, what if? Do you feel that? Like you feel that, right? Like, am I making the, there's this kind of neurotic energy to your choices, when really the Saturn return between the ages 25 to 30, and it's not, this is not the only time where you can play around with choices, but between 25 and 30, play around with your choices. Try some things, be really freaking bad at them, be terrible at them, fail, practice, discover, learn, change it back and say yes and say no. That's what this time is for, because you not having that permission, that self-permission, you not giving yourself that self-permission during that time really does not set you up for enjoyment and freedom in the next couple of years, next few decades, because you're like, oh my gosh, it's scarier to fail and to do something different than to just stay doing this thing, which I don't like. I don't enjoy it. I actually really hate it. I don't like it. And I'm just gonna stay here because like that feels comfortable. And that energy, if you don't make choices around it, it's not a one-day choice. It is a constant state of making that choice. If you don't make choices around it, it builds up. You ever heard of people having like a midlife crisis at 40, right? It's because they didn't make those choices in their Saturn return. They kind of just went on autopilot until it built up so high, it burst. And now you're like, oh, I'm gonna leave my wife and I'm gonna do all these things and I'm gonna live on a boat and I'm going to, you know, become, you know, a whale whisperer. Like that's the energy of it. I mean, you can do that if you want to do that. And I actually do know some people who have done that. But there's no reason for you to come to this like blow. There's no reason for you to come and be like, oh my gosh, my last 40 years of my life, I've made no intentional decisions for myself. I've made no conscious decisions for myself. I've made no brave decisions for myself. I've made no choices for myself where I gave myself permission to fail and do something strange and weird and be judged and not give a crap, because I'm not supposed to know who the heck I am. I'm 25, right? Like I'm 30. Like why am I supposed to know the world, right? We don't know what we don't know. And so this period of time is really for that exploration. It's really for that play. It's really for you to like dive deep inside and say like, I don't have the answer and I'm okay with that. I'm literally okay with that. And so to switch around a little bit, you know, we talked a little bit of astrology, we just talked a little bit about the practical, but to switch it around, in different studies and different explanations of the life's journey, there is this concept of the maiden, the mother, and the crone. The maiden, the mother, and the crone, okay? And this is not gender specific, it's essentially the energy of these different things. So it's thought that when you're younger, you have this maiden energy. The maiden is the one who is just like learning. You are studious, you're being taught. You're like, oh my gosh, fire, oh hot, wind, oh breezy, water, cool, this feels like that. You come into this world and you're essentially just experiencing all the elements. You're experiencing all the different parts that, like, why would you know that this is hot and this is cold and this is bitter and this is spicy? You're kind of in this like exploration stage. You're this maiden. You're kind of this like childlike, very curious, very innocent, very untainted untainted kind of energy, just like the world is open to you. I would say the world is your oyster, but I actually don't know what that saying means. I don't logically I have not come to a conclusion of what that means. But you know, the world is your oyster. It's open to you. You get all the benefits of just like not having any kind of fears. Essentially, those fears don't exist for you when you're in this like maiden kind of energy. Then over time, you come into your mother energy, or I like to call it your auntie energy. This is you like stepping into your auntyhood. So this auntie energy is kind of this like, I now know that I like these ingredients. I know my boundaries. I understand this about myself. You're still learning. You've never at any point like know everything, but this auntie energy is a little bit different than this maiden energy. This maiden is kind of looking for that external validation, for people to show them how to do it. They're self-curious too. The curiosity also comes from within, but they're also kind of, you know, relying on people to show them and teach them and guide them and support them. There's kind of like a more hand-holding energy here. When you come into this mother auntyhood energy, it's like, auntie, right? Like you know who you are a little bit more, you know, not fully maybe, but you kind of know who you are a little bit more. Your posture is a little bit different. The way that you dress yourself is a little bit different. The way that you speak, your understanding of your boundaries, the way that the expectations that you have for yourself, your energy is a little bit more within. It's not an external energy. It is a self-collected energy. So when you're going through the Saturn return, it's essentially you moving from this maiden energy, like, am I okay, Chuda? Do I like that? Does this look nice? No. The auntie, it's like, I know this color looks good on me. I'm gonna pop on these lashes. I'm gonna wear these jewels. And I'm talking about physical things, but think of it as like putting on your own energy too. It doesn't have to be your ring and your jewels and whatever. It's literally you knowing what kind of energy you wear, right? And it's not so fluctuated depending on what somebody else said to you. You actually have an understanding of like, this is who I am. Yeah, I'm grounded, and I am really not gonna let this conversation like unground me. I'm actually not gonna participate over here. I'm not really interested in this thing. It's like, I really love this. You just have a better understanding of who you are as a person, and that energy begins to shift with you too. And then later on, you go into this crone energy. And crone is not like, they always depict crones as this like evil witch, you know, like with warts and stuff like that. But crone is basically like an elder. At some point you become this elder. You kind of move into this elder energy, which is like, you don't really need, you're not seeking validation, you know, like people, yeah, okay, cool. Like you're not really seeking validation from the external world. You are now the wise person. You are the wisdom. You are the person who has experience. You're leading your communities. People come to you for advice and opinion, and you're the medicine, right? You become that elder who's that medicine. So in a lot of different studies, there is this concept of these three phases: the maiden, the mother, and the crone. And you can interchange it with different words if you know, like, you know, different ways to experience that. But basically, in your Saturn return, you're in this middle shift. There's other studies that also connect your period, your menstruation, with these phases too. The maiden comes into their motherhood when you're in ovulation, when you're in this like very fertile kind of energy. And then when you come into menopause, that's when you fully come into your power. This is like you fully coming into your body, your womb wisdom, your divine feminine, this like super blended energy. You come into this crone energy. So in your first Saturn return, between the ages of 25 and 30, as I was mentioning, it doesn't mean that like today's the first day you started menstruating. We're talking about energetically, you're really coming into yourself. You're learning to know about yourself. You're also learning to seek less external validation from other people. And I'm sure you feel that, right? Like you feel like you are seeking less validation from people. You don't really need their opinion. You'll hear them, cool, like thanks for letting me know, but it just falls off your shoulders shoulder in a different way. Your energy in your body sits in a different way. The way that you hold your heart, hold your chest, hold your solar plexus just hits a little bit differently. The way that you speak hits a little bit differently. The way that you communicate, the way that you ask for what your needs are, what your boundaries are, the way that you're emotionally aware, the types of introspection that you've been doing. This is not a one-day thing. Girl, this is not a one-day thing. This didn't take one day to do it. It took several years to do that. And that shadow, you know, we mentioned that the Saturn is in its position between the ages of 27 to 29, but the shadow of it is on either side of that. So your shadow can start around 25 years old and go all the way up into 31 to 32. And if at any point you feel like, I'm over my Saturn return, I'm done learning all the lessons, like, please don't. Seek therapy, come to breathwork, like come to, you know, do some integration work and find the places where you can actually integrate these experiences and express these experiences, because what's going to happen is that they're going to start repeating in your life, and they will follow you in your life if you don't heal through them in this moment. And there's so many years and opportunities for you to do that. So the first thing not the first thing, we've been talking for a while, but one of the things that I want to mention to you is that a lot of people, you know, I mentioned that these 3 different stages, a lot of people actually never arrive to their elderly stage, to their crone stage, because they're still in this maiden energy. They might have old things that are unhealed, trauma that have not been processed. There might be, you know, PTSD and a lot of, you know, things that are not at their fault, things that have not been processed, that they carry this maiden energy with them through their entire life. And I'm sure you know people like that in your life. If you think about like an adult, quote unquote, and you're just like, wow, they're like really immature, they act like this and they think like this, and I don't mean like immature in the way that it's like fun and cute. I mean like really destructive and harmful and really violent energetically and emotionally. Those things are things that are meant to be resolved through the lifetime. They start to appear for you between the ages of 25 to 30 in your Saturn return, because they're literally here to say like, hey, let's heal through this stuff. Let's actually work on this together. And your highest self, who's like always speaking to you, is like requesting you to do that. And our part as the human in all of this is to actually say yes and go through the crap and move through the things that feel really toxic and damaging and hurtful, and move through them, to not ignore them and never think about them again, not like that, but to actually acknowledge and integrate those parts of us in a really healthy way, so that when we do come into this auntie energy, you're not always feeling triggered, you're not always feeling hurt, you're not always feeling rejected, you're not always feeling mean, and you're like, oh, I'm just blunt. No, girl, you're mean, right? Like, no, you have a part of you that's rejecting people, you're pushing people away, you don't want help, you don't know how to receive, you feel bitter, like, oh my gosh, like, seriously, I'm exhausted just talking about that. So in this place, when you're faced with all these different kinds of shadows, part of your Saturn return is to really deeply commit to your shadow work. This is the parts of you that is really toxic. This is the parts of you that you don't want to admit that are toxic. This is the parts of you that has old traumas, that old stuff, family things, parents, and, you know, relationships and whatever else that may have occurred in your life. It's to heal through those things. And I'm not to say, you know, part of healing is not to like pretend that it never happened later on and so you can live and be la-di-da. If you want to do that, you can do that too. If that works for you, then cool. This is to say, like, let's actually go to the stories, reprogram those stories, whether it's through breath work or sound healing, therapy, somatic movement, any of the healing arts that are available for you. While you go and do that kind of stuff, you're allowing yourself to actually have a more pleasant experience after you come out from the Saturn return. So you're not always going to be, you know, inundated with like, why is this happening to me? Why? Da, da, da. It's like a spinning kind of energy. It's like, breathe, chill, child. And if you have this awareness that this is energetically available for you, you can actually give yourself a little bit more grace going through it all. You don't have to pretend like, you know, like I'm just gonna hold my breath for, you know, this next couple of years and it'll just go away. It'll go away, but it'll come back. It'll go away, but it'll come back. Did you hear what I said? Like, it'll go away, but it'll come back. So allow yourself to actually move through these energies so you don't repeat patterns, so you don't recreate the same situations, so that in this stage of your very, very early life, 25 to 30, you know, people think they're old, when you're 25 to 30 and you have this beautiful opportunity to like say, fuck it, I'm gonna do something different, I'm going to try it, and maybe it's not gonna work, and I'm going to actually decide what I want to master. I'm going to actually create awareness for myself. And we've spoke about this a few times, you know, if you hang around on the channel, if you hang around near my stratosphere, we talk about energy, right? We speak so much about energy. There's 3 parts to working with your energy. The first is awareness of your energy. Second is to practice your energy. And the third is when you begin to master your energy. And the second and the third, they go hand in hand. They're always intertwining with each other. You practice, you master, you practice, you master, you practice. But it starts with you being aware, energy awareness. So now you're aware that this energy is here for you, especially if you're 25, 30. Friend, you're gonna make it. You literally will be fine. This energy has made itself aware to you. You are aware of this energy. Now you get to decide the second and third part. How are you going to practice working with this energy? Oh no, this is happening. I don't know who I am. Or are you going to go do something, you know, like a little out there? You're going to take a chance on yourself. You're going to create a different thing. You're going to show up a little bit different. Maybe you dress yourself different. Maybe your haircut is different, right? Like it is all an extension of your energy. Okay? So friends, I hope this helps you. And if you are in your Saturn return, listen, you will be fine. You really will be fine. Well, I hope this conversation helps you. And if you are in your Saturn return, friend, you will be fine. You got auntie energy written all over you, okay? Look at you. You got auntie energy all over you. Embrace that about yourself. Get to know who you are. Get to know what your needs are. Get to know yourself. And the more you're coming home to you, the more that you're coming home inside your body, not the outside, not the external, not the validation, not the noise. The more that you're coming home back to yourself, you're gonna know exactly what to do. Okay? So friends, if you're not already subscribed, definitely subscribe. We talk about spiritual exploration, personal development, all the mysticism in the woo. And until next time, I'll catch you soon.